All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra, and I am so very excited today to be joined by my friend Susan Crawford. She is a coach and also a speaker, and she is the founder of, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, Meraki Inspired.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wait, guys. I'm going to let her tell you what that means. I've read it on her site and just was like, but I'm going to let Susan tell you all about it. So Susan, thank you so much and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. This is exciting.
Yes. So let's go ahead and dive into your story. Just go ahead and let the audience know who Susan is.
Well, that's a big question, and it's one of those existential questions. Who am I? Right? I think we're all trying to figure that out. So the professional side, I have a social work background, training and development background. I'm a coach and mentor. That's the boring stuff, though. I think the more exciting part of me is that I'm a mom of 2 girls. I'm a wife. I'm a business owner. I left a corporate job that was killing my soul and took the leap to start my own business. Through that journey, I mean, like all of us, I think it's a winding journey that we take through life. We go steadily checking all the boxes of finishing our education, getting a job, finding a partner, getting a house, and doing all those things perfectly. And then I got blindsided by postpartum depression.
Oh.
And so I think that was probably the starting point of my unraveling, and also my building myself back to be the woman that I now define on my terms, not the terms of my parents or society. And I've used that to tell my story. I've used that to inspire other women, because I think so often we are shamed into our stories and into silence, that we feel like we are alone, and that there's no space to share the overcoming of these stories and all the steps it takes to be able to do that. So that is why I left my corporate job, because when you feel in your body so deeply,
yes,
the toll it's taking on your very essence, you have the option to stay or to change. And I decided to change. And so 2 years ago, I quit my job and I started Meraki Inspired. And the rest, as they say, is history.
No, I thank you so much for sharing that, because just within your story, and I know that there are long, if you could tell the story, it would be much longer than this condensed version, but there's so much packed into that. Just and so many things that I think women are dealing with. One thing you did mention, it's almost like a lot of times in order for us to actually make a change, we have to almost just like hit this wall. And and I can relate to that just from even like starting a personal, like starting therapy and starting a journey to better myself. I was spiraling out and didn't realize it. And I thought it was masked with overwhelm, just saying, oh, I'm just overwhelmed. But it was just really like, no, I was just probably about to have some type of breakdown without knowing, but it was all because of boundaries and not having them.
Yes. And putting on the happy face, right?
Yes.
Everything is fine. I'm great. And, never being able to actually reveal those darker sides of ourselves, because it's positive vibes only nowadays, and, keep pushing through.
Yeah.
And that is so detrimental to ourselves as women and our spirit, because there comes a point where our mind and our body know not to push through anymore, that something has to change. Like this autopilot that we are forced to live in. When we wake up and realize, oh my God, this isn't the life I want, then we have to, we are called to do something. We're invited to do something about it. And really my mission is to speak to those women who feel that call, who hear it, who know that they want something different, but don't know where to start or even what they want a lot of the time.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that, because you do have to make a choice. You have to draw a line in the sand, and you have to say, like, I am really, I like to say, honor the feelings. And my therapist tells me this all the time. She's like, it's okay if you feel down about something, or you know, don't let it take a permanent residence in your head.
Yes.
But she's like, nothing, don't let it live rent free.
Yes.
But definitely like honor it in that moment, and then work through, you know, how to push forward. And to your point, a lot of people don't have they don't know the ways to do that. They don't have the tips, or they don't have the resources. So a lot of people just are in this like spiral of despair almost.
Exactly. And then because women are told that, you know, just make it work, fake it till you make it, we put on these happy faces, but we're dying inside. And I really believe that in order to stop that cycle, we need to start talking about the hard things. We need to say, I'm overwhelmed. I'm losing my patience with my kids all the time. I hate my job. I'm miserable in my marriage. Like all of these things, when we can put them in some type of order, when we can put that chaos into order, we become happier. And when we are happier, we are more productive, we are more creative, we are more inspired. And that is essentially how I want to live. And so I really want women to know that, and men too. I know men struggle with this as well, but women specifically, there's something that, you know, in society tells us we have to be perfect. We have to be flawless. We can't show weakness or vulnerability. And that is,
yeah, I know. And I think especially during this time with the pandemic, and moms, you know, women that are moms having to like be home with their kids, entertain their kids, be a teacher, be all those things to everybody in their household. You know, a lot of them are like, people are feeling, I'm like, no, if you feel a certain way, you can say it. Like, I don't have kids, but I understand. Like, I have friends that, you know, have been sort of in this dual role of like educator, mom, wife, you know, for the last 6 months. And I'm like, it's okay for you to say like, you know what, my kids are driving me crazy.
Absolutely. No judgment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What you said earlier, what you resist persists. So if you're not willing to just acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling that's there, and we stuff it down like we do, then we try to numb them, because then they get overwhelming, and it's like, okay, now it's numbing time. Go grab the wine, go grab the food, go grab, you know, drugs or whatever else is your thing. And it's like, address the issue at the core, and then you can work through it.
Right. Yep. Nope. I definitely agree with you. Okay. So Meraki Inspired, the name.
Yeah. You know, this is a word, a Greek word that I came across about 6 years ago, and I loved the definition of it. So I've switched it up a little bit to fit my vibe, but it really means the soul, creativity, and passion that you put into something, and it's leaving the essence of yourself in everything you do. And now, if anybody listening or watching has been in a job where you just punch in, punch out, and are on this like robotic cycle, and you have more to give, more to offer, this word spoke to my soul. And I said, this is the type of work I want to do. This is the kind of person I want to be, so that people are impacted by me and interacting with me because of what I have to offer. And so I chose this name for my business as a reminder of what I stood for and what I desired, and also as a way to inspire others to say, this is what you can have too. When you make hard choices, you can live Meraki. And it's essentially, because it derives from a Greek word, it's like when you eat a good meal and you can say, I can taste the love. That is Meraki. That is exactly what it stands for. So, yeah.
I love that. So how did you personally deal with, because I'm sure you got to this place and you said, I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to make myself happy and find joy every day. But I'm sure there was fear, there was doubt that came into play as you probably got closer to actually doing it. How did you deal with that?
Well, I was in this job. So first of all, I want to tell anybody, don't just drop your job and say, well, I heard Susan say that she quit her job to find Meraki. Don't do that. It was a process. Like, it was a process that was, for me, very well thought out. I'm not a risk taker, but I knew that what was at risk was my well-being had I stayed. So I was there for about 8 years. And the last 2 years after I had my 2 kids was probably the hardest. And so the process looked like, okay, I'm not happy. A lot of people I worked with weren't happy. I have the choice to stay or go. Ooh, that's scary. Okay, so what do I need to do to start getting the wheels in motion? So I got some certifications and training. I talked to people who had left the profession. I had talked to people who were doing the work that I wanted to be doing. And probably the biggest key for me was receiving coaching. That changed my perspective. It changed my life, because where I thought I was stuck, I learned that I actually had the keys to the golden handcuffs that were keeping me in this toxic job.
Wow. Yes.
And
that's,
so,
yeah, that's a word, Susan.
When we realize we have power, even when we feel powerless to create change, everything changes. Everything changes when we recognize that we have agency, that we can lead our lives differently if we are brave enough to take that first step. And yes, it was scary. Oh my God. Like, pension, benefits, great paycheck, a 9 to 5. Where I was born and raised, you don't leave that. That is like the dream. But if that dream costs me my happiness, my relationship, my connection with my kids at the end of the day, because I spend so much time being happy and putting on the face, and then I go home and they get what's left.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It wasn't worth it.
I absolutely love what you just said, because that is so true. I mean, so many people, so many women are just, their families are just getting what they have left at the end of the day. And that was a similar, thing for me, is when I started my journey, when I started therapy and started to talk about the boundaries that I didn't have, and realizing that me getting up and starting my day, so pre-COVID and working from home, I was getting up at 4:30 to work out, then to get to my job by like 7:30, and then I was working through the day, working through lunch, and then I would leave the office sometimes at 7, sometimes 7:30. And while yes, I think I would justify it in my head, because I was like, well, I don't have children, I have a husband, I have a pup, but they also deserve to get the best of me. So then when I got home, I would just be like, okay, hurry up, make dinner, try sit down, work on your side business, and, and try and then I'd be just back in the same circle, like every day. So it's, it definitely is making. So when you start to make that positive change for yourself, because I was like, I can't do this forever.
No, no one can. Like when life starts to become operational, like, okay, so I go from A to B to C to E. Excuse me. It's no fun.
Right.
It's no fun. And so you have to decide, what do you want?
Exactly.
What do you want out of your life?
Yep. And I mean, I think what you said is, like, you want to be happy. And it's one thing, I think, in my, maybe a session I had, a therapy session a couple weeks ago, I said to my therapist, I said, looking at the feelings wheel, I was like, you know what? I feel joy. And I don't know that I felt joy in quite some time. I said, I don't know how to explain this feeling. I said, but it's not happy, like, because happy can be up and down, but I'm like, it's just a sense of peace, calm, and just joy. And I said, and I'm just so thankful that I was able to get back to, get here again. Because like, I probably feel like, I'm like, I don't think I felt that in like the last 10 years.
We're on autopilot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you said, it's just been this, like, it's operational, and you're just making you're making transactions throughout the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. and
Yep.
and it's surface level.
Yep.
So even if you look at relationships and friendships, it's like, how deeply do the people that are in your circle know you? Like, do they really know you, or do they know the version of you that you've presented to them that makes you appear perfect or the way you want? Like, do they know all the sides of you?
Right.
That's where relationship happens.
Yeah.
That's where connection happens.
Yep. And so that's why I have said repeatedly to like any of my friends during this time, I'm like, look, use this time to connect. Like, I immediately in March, when everything started to happen, when I came home to work full time from home, I saw it as an opportunity. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let this time be for naught. Like, because I'm going to be connected to my husband. I'm going to be connected to my friends. I'm going to catch up with people. Even, we're Zooming, but I'm going to catch up with people who I've said, oh, I need to reach out. Oh, I need to do this. And I said, because you don't want a year from now to say, what did I do with all that time that we were like at home? You don't want it to, and I mean, and it's, I was able to start this Glow Up Girl, and I was able to start this podcast, and I've been able to meet amazing people. And, like you said, when you know what you know in your, like your bones, that something is meant and it's what you're supposed to be and supposed to be doing and what brings you. This is part of the joy that, I get, is to be able to talk to someone like you and be able to help women out there who may not be at the point yet where they're ready to say, start, but they're just listening and they're processing and planning. So I'm right.
Meraki. That is exactly what we're talking about. And the feeling of joy when you make a shift in your life that is for you, right? How many of us are the people pleasers that make sure everybody else in our life is taken care of? They have everything they need, comfortable, abundant. And then we look at ourselves and it's like, wait, I have nothing of my own that I can dive into. And it's like, well, wait a second, why is that? We have to choose to create something for ourselves. And this time, this last 6 months has flipped people's lives upside down. And this has probably been the biggest wake-up call for women, especially the women I've coached, because they've been forced to slow down just enough to realize that the life they were living does not bring them joy.
Wow. And what are they doing with that? How have you been able to help them with that discovery?
It's hard because women typically, because they are putting everyone else's needs first, have such a hard time giving to themselves. It comes back to, you have to believe you are worthy to be taken care of, not by others, by you first.
Yes.
We must be responsible for our own well-being. Otherwise, we will burn out, as many of us do. We will not ask for help, which many of us do, because asking for help is perceived as weak and vulnerable. And if you can't do it, then come on, you're not good enough.
Right.
If you take a break, then it's perceived as selfish and lazy. Like, there are so many things that are attacking women and their well-being, but we need to dispel all of that and say, it is your responsibility to take care of you. So the overwhelm, the stress of working from home, for some of us teaching our kids at home, sending or not sending our kids to school now that they're open. We have had such scheduled lives, wake up, go to work, get the kids ready, whatever your process looks like in the morning. If you've slowed down to say, oh, wait a second, I'm not chauffeuring anybody around anymore. This kind of feels good. I have a little bit of extra time. Oh, I don't have all of the responsibilities that I used to have. There is such beauty in simplification. When you can simplify your life. And I think that's what this pandemic has done, is invited us, if we choose, to simplify our lives so that we have space for ourselves to nurture, to take care of, to fill up our own being first.
No, I so agree with that. And I love that. I think you're right. Everything you said is 120%. Like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you say like in jobs, it's always women who have to juggle, we have to juggle and multitask and with a smile, like
exactly.
with a smile, and if you mess up, it's okay for the other people, but we also we put that pressure on ourselves because we don't want to let people down, and and everybody around you can make those mistakes, and you're like, well, if that were me, it would be different,
Yes.
And there is just a higher level of, because with women it's usually your promotion is riding on that.
Yes.
Being given more money, is riding on that. So, but it's okay. Most times men can make those same, mistakes, or they're not even able to juggle as much as women.
The mental load women carry, I feel, is absolutely astounding. I wonder how so many of us walk upright with how many things we have to juggle, process, think about, plan for, anticipate in our heads. And then you add being a woman of color, the stakes are so much higher. So much higher. And so not stopping, hustling hard, making sure that we are doing all the things independently, we are going to be our own downfall if we don't stop and pay attention. We have to pay attention.
No, I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because it is so true. I mean, and it's, obviously this year has given us the opportunity to be able to have more of those conversations with people who do not look like us. And I know, I always tell people, I'm like, look, I have worked in corporate America for almost like 20 plus years now. And I'm like, yes, I want to tell you one thing. Number one, I want to tell you that it is not a compliment to me for you to say that I'm articulate. It's not. It is not a compliment.
Please stop.
Because you do not tell the white person or someone else that, oh yeah, you're very
well. Oh, yeah. Oh my.
And I was like, oh well, what did you think I would sound like? Okay. So I've been able to have a lot of those conversations, and just, examples from previous jobs of, being asked to carry a mighty load when someone else that was not of the same color was able to just maybe be very emotional at work, and they just were like, well, she's just having a hard time, so can you take this work, Kyra, and do it? And I was like, okay, but why don't I get the same, who's gonna take care of my mental well-being?
Right. And that's where I think it's beautiful that you talked about boundaries, because I think the hardest thing for a lot of women to say is no.
Yes. No
is a full sentence. It is a complete thought, and it is a declaration of, this is a boundary for me, and I am not letting you cross it.
Yeah.
And if you're a people pleaser, saying no can be so hard, because the guilt, the shame, what if I hurt someone's feelings? What if, what will they think of me? Will I, get in the way of this job opportunity? Will my friends still talk to me? We're afraid because we're used to pleasing and we're used to giving, but those boundaries are critical because we have to be responsible for taking care of ourselves.
Yep.
We have to be.
Yeah, we definitely do. Oh, I love that. That was filled with so much, so much knowledge there. So let's see, how do you help amazing women? So let's talk about your program, so that people can understand, your approach to coaching and what steps you take to help someone get started.
Yeah. I have to say, the coaching I do, I don't coach what I haven't done myself. So I will never lead a client or someone that I'm working with through a process that I haven't personally experienced, because I think the value is that I have taken these steps and they work. And so I want to guide you through those same steps, because I know the outcome that is possible if you are willing to commit and do the work. And so the program that I offer women, the amazing women that I work with, and just to give you a picture of like the range, executives, moms, full-time employees that want to have a side hustle, that want to start something of their own. So they're in MLMs, like the companies that, you know, have consultants. They are, you know, students who are just trying to figure out who they are outside of their parents and trying to carve their own way in this world. So I work with a range of amazing women who want to figure out, who am I outside of the labels that I've been given, outside of the roles that I've been playing, and who am I at my core? And I just want to give this sort of analogy because a client told me this and I thought it was the most perfect description. She said, you know, so many of us women live our lives like we're tofu. Now, for anybody who loves tofu, I apologize, you're not going to like this analogy, but if you think of tofu, it's sort of this like flavorless thing that if you add to a dish, it could be really tasty. But if you're a woman who sort of is going through her life on autopilot, doing, you know, the things that you're supposed to do and not really connecting to any of them, you can be in any situation, at any job, in any relationship, playing any role, and you will fit in. But you'll never have this identity of your own. You'll never have things that are yours, that you like, that bring you passion and excitement. And so a lot of the women I work with have been living their lives like tofu. And what I help them create is a flavor, a life, an existence of their own, outside of the roles and that they play and the things that they do, something that is completely theirs. And that is the Find Your Way program.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And I love to say that the Find Your Way program, it's not just a program, it's a homecoming.
Okay.
Because we have strayed so far from ourselves by being in other people's dishes that we need to find our way back to our essence, to our core, so that when we show up at work, in our relationships, as parents, in our friendships, that we are the most authentic versions of ourselves, fully expressed.
Yes.
And I think that is the biggest gift you can give yourself as a woman.
That is, yes, that gave me chills actually. Because that is just so true. That is so true. And once you start to, you know, get to a place to where you're evolving or you're walking that type of journey towards being the most authentic version of yourself, I mean, people can't, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, you have to go into it and you have to be okay with the fact that some friends may fall off. Some family members may not understand. Of course, you know, coworkers are going to be just blown away by like, well, what is going on with you? Yeah. who is this now? So I think that people, you know, I think that's why a lot of times people don't necessarily, because they don't want, like you said, they don't want things to change in their like existence of how it is. But I'm just here to say, like, it is the best thing, because when you start to walk a different walk and you start to walk a journey that is, you know, that puts you first, because that's the number one thing. It's like, you know, my therapist always says you have to retrain and you have to teach people how to treat you.
I love that.
And if you don't do that, then people will continue to treat you the way they've always treated you. So if they're used to coming to your cup and just drinking all that you have and then leaving you empty, they will continue to do that. But one of the things that I've found that has been good for me is just having a conversation with people to say, look, so here's where I am. This is what I've been working on. And I'm probably not going to be answering or doing those things that we used to do quite as much, because I'm establishing my own boundaries.
Yeah.
And so I think that if women, you know, can just, if you can just see it, if there's just a glimmer and you get just a small taste of it, then you'll want so much more of it.
Yes, exactly. And it just takes one woman to take that first step, and all of the women around her will look and say, I want that for my life too. How do I do it?
Yeah. Like
we
what?
feel, where can I get some of that, right? and that's not to say that fear isn't there. That's not to say that like frustration and, you know, the ebbs and flows, like the valleys are there too. And you will lose people along your path. You will let go and say goodbye to relationships that maybe were meaningful for you at a time. And you will pick up people along the way that will support you and your journey and help push you further along.
Yes. Oh, yes. Another. Susan, you are in here dropping all the knowledge this morning on a Saturday. But that is so true, because I think that's what people always, they associate the change with maybe losing something, but you have to think about the gain. Yes. And, you know, and it doesn't mean that, you know, you don't still love somebody, that you still don't, you know, care for them. It's just, it's a season. And for you to walk into the next season of your life and for you to continue to evolve, I mean, sometimes you have to let some people go and let other people in. So I love that. I love that. And what it brings up for me is, for anybody who has experienced loss in their life, grief, we know it is a recurring part of life. And a lot of that grief can come with change. You could lose a job and you're grieving the work or the people or the stability. When I became a mom, I didn't realize the grief that was attached to it, because I was essentially saying goodbye to the version of me that I had up until I was in my 30s. I had to say goodbye to that version of Susan, because this new chapter was not going to be the same. And we have to allow ourselves to grieve what we are leaving behind, but we cannot stay there. We cannot stay there, because what lies ahead of us, that unlimited potential that lies ahead of us, if we're willing to have the courage to go after it, is phenomenal. But there will be stages of grief and loss and processing that have to happen. Otherwise, we get stuck. If I held on to that version of me before kids, there's no way I could enjoy motherhood. There's no way I could have taken a step out of a corporate job, because all of that would still be tied to something that no longer exists. We are continually evolving, and we have to understand that there is loss in evolution. Yes. Oh, I love that. That is great. So what would you say to someone who may be listening, you know, who's going to be listening to us now, or a woman who she's trying to determine, you know, and she's just got a lot of thoughts. What would you say to someone who is just maybe I want to, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I believe that even when we say we're not sure, we know. And we have gone so far from listening to our inner knowing, like that deep inner knowing that knows. So what I would say to that woman is, tune out all of the noise. Tune out the noise of your parents saying that this is what your life has to look like, your partner, your kids, your job. Tune out all of that distraction, turn off social media, and be with yourself. Be with yourself and ask yourself the question, who do I want to be? And then listen, because you know at your core, in your truest essence, who you want to be in this world. And when you listen to that answer and look at your life and see that it is not aligned, that is your call to adventure. This is the ultimate hero's journey. When you hear that call, it starts as a whisper and then becomes a deafening bang on a pot. Those are the signs that we are trained to ignore, because we are supposed to check the boxes that we've been told to check and live a status quo life. But for those women who feel restless, who feel the upheaval, that fire in their belly that says, this is not all that's in me, this is not all that I have to give, listen to that voice and take one step forward. Use a coach, work with a therapist, sit down and think about, what is it that you want your life to look like? Create the vision of your life, not the life that somebody else says you have to have, but your life. And then figure out, what is it that I need to do to take a step closer to that vision?
Yes. Ooh. So if you're not already like now after you heard that, like saying, sign me up.
Yes.
please sign up. Oh, I love that. Love that, Susan. So now we're going to end on 5 things with Susan. So how do you start your day?
Well, in quarantine, these days start a lot differently.
Yeah.
Because we are homeschooling online, and so I always try to start my day with gratitude that I have my family close to me and we are safe and healthy, and enjoying these moments with my kids. I think I feel like I look at my mom, who worked full time as a nurse, rotating shifts, and she missed so many core moments of our lives because of work. This, it sounds awful to say, has been a gift, because I've spent more time with my kids than probably my mom was able to when they were this age. And so I am grateful for that. And as much as I get frustrated, like every other mother out there, I really want to cherish those moments. So we start our school routine. But what I try to do every morning is ground myself in the knowing that this is, for this moment, what I am focused on, what I am invested in, and what I am choosing to do.
Yes, I love that. So what book or books are you currently reading?
I don't know if any of your listeners have read Untamed, but it is the book for women who are ready to make a change in their lives. It's written by Glennon Doyle. Powerful book, because she really breaks down how we have learned to be caged in our lives, and now it is time to untame. Now it is time to let loose and be yourself fully. And anyone who has read it, I tell them, you can read the book. The Find Your Way program shows you how. Because there's a difference between reading and absorbing and then taking deliberate action. And I'm all about take the action if you want to see the change. It's that book and More Myself. I just finished Alicia Keys's memoir. And so good. So good. A lot of the same themes, a lot of the same experiences, just told in a different way. But it's always, how do I come back home to myself? This is the journey we need to be on as women, coming back home to ourselves.
Yes, I love that. How do you push through a challenging day?
I think old Susan would have said, go hard, keep pushing, keep going. This version of me has been very conscious to say, then stop.
Yes.
If it's a really challenging day, I'm not serving myself, and I can't serve my clients if I'm not my best version of me. And so I am learning, like a lot of women, and unlearning the pattern of rest, slow down, take care of yourself. I am a work in progress too, because I've had the same programming that we've all had. Is like, just keep pushing. It doesn't matter if you burn out. It doesn't matter if you're exhausted. It does. It does. So if days are really hard, then I step back and I figure out what I need to do to take care of myself. Because one day isn't going to break my business. One day isn't going to kill me. What is going to kill me is pushing through to the point of burnout and exhaustion, where I can't do my work, where I can't take care of my kids, where I can't be, myself. So if it gets hard, I am learning and continuously practicing to rest.
Yes, no, that is excellent advice. How do you deal with a no? When some, well, it depends who says it, right? I mean, if it's a no, I want to believe that I respect people's no's. It's different. However, I have to say it's a little bit different when it's a client, because a lot of the times my clients will say no to challenges, to things that they are afraid of doing because it takes them outside of their comfort zone. So when I'm working with a client and they're like, oh no, I can't possibly do that. I hold every person that I work with as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And I believe if we can hold people in that space, they can do the hard things that they are afraid of. And so if it's a client, I'm going to hold space for that woman and say, yes, you can. What's one step you can take
so that she understands she has a lot of power within her to make that no a yes if it feels like an aligned yes. If it's not from a place of fear, of self-doubt, of self-sabotage, which we're all fantastic at, aligned no is powerful. If it's other people in my life and they say no, cool. But just know that I am just as capable of using the word no and using it as a full sentence without apology, without compromise. Like, I have non-negotiables. And so, you know, I respect no's. My no's need to be respected as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And last, how do you end the day?
Oh my gosh, after the children have gone to sleep, it's usually watching a favorite show, just kicking my feet up, going to sleep myself, spending time with my husband. It's my time. It's my time to decompress and process the day. And I think it always is important to come back to gratitude. Like, I am grateful I have been able to leave a corporate job and start a business. I am grateful that we are safe during COVID. I am grateful that I've been able to run a business through a pandemic. I'm grateful I have my health. And, you know, there's so many things that if we stop long enough to say, okay, there are some things that aren't perfect, that aren't going well or going right. But instead of focusing on those things, if we make a quarter turn pivot and say, holy crap, there is so much that I have to be thankful for here. Yeah. I feel like it's a great way to end the day.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I mean, everything you said about the morning and the evening, I started with gratitude. I ended with gratitude and thanks for the day, no matter what happened during that day, because something was learned. Something was learned regardless. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So how can my audience find you online if they're interested in following or signing up for your program?
Yeah, if you are interested in even having a conversation of what coaching looks like for you or what it could look like for you, I encourage you to visit my website, www.merakiinspired.com. There is a button on my website that you can sign up for a free 30-minute discovery call. And really, I like to say it's an activation call. It's really, how do you want your life to look like? And what do we need to get you from where you are now to there? It's free. Click on it, book a time, let's have a conversation. You have the keys to your freedom. You have the choice, the ability to create choices in your life that will change how you live, how you think, and how you feel every day. And I would love to be a part of that journey if you're called to connect with me.
Awesome. Well, Susan, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great conversation, and I feel like I have taken so much, and that's also like you've affirmed. I think that there are always people put into our own lives to affirm in areas where we're pushing forward. So this has just been an amazing conversation, and I thank you for joining, and I wish you nothing but all the success in the future.
Oh, same to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Stay tuned, guys. I'll be right back.